You know, the last time I was in this theater, just a couple of months ago, I was here for the premiere of a very special movie. It was a documentary about the story of one of the greatest creative legends in the history of Chicago. A young man that grew up in a place called, I think it was Cabrini Green. And he decided that he wanted to be a songwriter. He taught himself how to play guitar, and he established a group called the Impressions. The young man's name was Curtis Mayfield. And after all these years, the first documentary to be done on Curtis Mayfield was unveiled here. And the wonderful thing about being here that evening, just a couple of months ago, is the two living Impressions were here right on this very stage. And when it was such a compelling and moving piece of film, all of the stories about how these young men, and the reason I'm bringing up this story of this individual, of course, all of you, if you don't know who Curtis Mayfield is, and is there any, well, no, I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand because you would embarrass yourself. The person next to you would be saying, oh, come on. You don't know who Curtis Mayfield and the Impressions are, but I just go to maybe there's a young man in Chicago that created a new, well, he's not actually from Chicago, but I think he started this thing in Chicago. I think his name is Asa Raskin. And it's a place where you go on the web, I think it's, what's that? Songza. You can go to Songza, which is a embodiment of this new media thing, and you can put in the Impressions, or you can put in the name of a song or something like that, and you can bring the song up and hear it. So if you need to get in the spirit of imagination and inspiration and everything we've been talking about here, you need to listen to some of the lyrics of the master Curtis Mayfield and the Impressions, and I guarantee you it'll bring some enthusiasm that hasn't been in some parts of your body in a long time. But the point I want to make is another story that I knew nothing about. You know, I grew up in Chicago. I went to high school during the heyday of Curtis Mayfield. I had all the songs and everything, but you know, one thing I never knew is that when Curtis Mayfield was on his way to be in the business, he said, wait a minute, why do I have to sign with some label? Can't I be a label? Why can't I own my publishing and own my songs? I don't want to just be out here for anybody. I want to be out here for myself. Now, this was a young man that was still in his teens when he made this bold statement. And so he effectively broke down some barriers. And in the heyday of Curtime Records, it was number 2 only to Motown in terms of its importance in artists and revenues. Now, this was a company that was based right here in Chicago. And it had artists that we all know, our commissioner, Jerry Butler, the Staple Singers, and 5 Stair Steps, and on and on and on. Ooh, child, things are going to get easier. All of these songs came out of the mind, the heart, and the spirit of Curtis Mayfield. Now, I'm here just to talk a little bit about 3 guys that got together at a coffee shop and decided that something special could happen. And if you go to our page on the New Media Summit and you look up Bruce Montgomery, it says, what am I about? It says, I'm about a guy who believes in the power of ideas whose time has come. Clearly, the fact that we have been able to get you people out tonight is an indication that it's not about us. It is not about us. I don't really even know these guys. They horsed me into this thing. But I believed in the idea, and obviously you did too. You don't know who I am. What are you doing here? He made you come. Now, I'm glad you said that, because that takes me to my next point. My next point is, you know what innovation is? Innovation is talking to somebody you don't and really listening. It's getting a card from somebody and then not saying, I don't have any more cards. It's reaching in your wallet and giving them theirs. It's saying, when can we get together? Just like Malachi said, You want to find out about this? Let's sit down and talk. You know, innovation to me is figuring out how everybody in this room can do something, knows their stuff, and can make that stuff, make my stuff do something it's not currently doing. That's what I want to see happen in Chicago, and that's the spirit of what this new media summit is all about. Kramer Krasset, one of the greatest creative agencies that ever existed, certainly that ever existed in Chicago. You know what you can do? You can incubate some companies. You probably have a big office downtown somewhere in one of those high-rise buildings. You guys just got the Porsche account. Well, then meet some people tonight and say, I want to know what you're doing. I want to put some of this technology and this media to work for my clients, and let's figure out a way. And I love what you said about stepping on the rake and getting hit in the head a couple of times. It's okay. But the reason we're here tonight, and I'm going to wrap up, I'm going to be brief, it's really just about 3 words. It's about imagination, it's about inspiration, and it's about innovation. We have been inspired. This wasn't about John, it wasn't about Malachi, it wasn't about myself, it isn't about the other 21 council members or the other 850 people that have now become my closest friends. It's about we all have some idea that there's a place in this picture for us. There's a place where we fit. There's somewhere where people are talking about the Olympics behind closed doors and we never got invited to the meeting. Well, this is different. We've been invited to the meeting. We've been at the launch. We're at the kickoff. We're in on the ground floor, and we got a chance to do something about it. This is a special time, and when I look out here and I see business leaders and entrepreneurs and people that know about venture capital, people that know about history, people know about culture, architecture, I see more than that because I see leaders and winners and doers and people that have tools that I can use. So what it's about is really getting to know how to apply these tools that all of us have. But you know, I'm going to give you a little secret. You know, there was somebody came up with this concept of something called The Secret and put together a little fairly hokey DVD. And in some kind of way, they stumbled up on something called The Oprah Show, and later on, they sold 5 million of these DVDs at $30 a piece on eBay. You know what? That's what this new media, anything is possible and anything can happen, but the secret is, and I'm going to give you, save your money, you don't need a DVD, I'll tell you what's on there. The secret is get a picture in your mind and hold on to it. And don't let nobody tell you what can and can't happen. We believe that Chicago can be the center of new media, period, end of story. It's done. No, I'm not accepting, I just do some good work and it'll all work out. No. We are going to be the leaders of new media. When this new Olympics comes to Chicago, this will be the first Olympics of the new media age. They've already projected some 5, I think when I talked to Hardy Bott, the CIO of the city of Chicago, and some of the folks working on the committee, they said something between $500 million and $1 billion will be spent just on information, telecommunications, digital infrastructure, and all that kind of stuff. Because in the year 2016, you're not going to be sitting down tracking your favorite water polo activity, sitting in front of a TV because it only comes on at 5 o'clock. It's going to be a whole new story. So to make a long story short, I want to thank all of you all for joining in the idea that something great could happen by working together, by coming together and believing through innovation and inspiration that something big and important could happen. But now it is up to us to do something important together. It is up to us to meet some people we don't know. And my vision, my picture, what I'm holding and what I see before me is one of the most elegant and intelligent and marvelous and creative and diverse and inclusive and wonderful people that I could ever have imagined coming into a place and time saying that they agree with me and my vision. And I appreciate you, I respect you, I love you, and I say thank you so much. 800 of my closest new friends.